Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of Litter Media Live on Facebook as well as on Litter Media Radio. I'm Mike Smith along with Chillicothe Mayor Luke Feeney for our visit, and we'll be talking a lot about the weather, what it's doing for our streets, and also the administration building. Some work is being done inside there to try to get it warm again. All of those among the discussion items today on our special edition, brought to you by Pickaway Ross Career and Technology for the adult education. Pickaway Ross Adult Education. All that's coming up next with Mayor Luke Feeney right after this.
Find a career you love with Pickaway Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
We're back with Chillicothe Mayor Luke Feeney, and Happy New Year, I guess.
Happy New Year.
A brand new year, 2025.
We're back.
Yeah, and we've had probably as much snow as we've had in the last 2 or 3 winters combined, it seems like, but that's another story.
I think I read somewhere since 2003, maybe the most snow.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. We've gotten our. Of course, when you dodge the bullet all those years, you just kind of expect it's going to get us
bound to happen.
Yeah. Speaking of the snow, I know plowing the streets, keeping them ready, that's been a priority item. We've talked about that in previous shows, but wanted to bring up an old point that we used to talk about on the radio, and that is the sidewalks. With so many pedestrians in our community, probably more than I can ever remember, I've seen people actually having to walk out in the streets because the sidewalks are covered.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. We were talking about that at our staff meeting yesterday. I think that I give an example would be the bridge, Bridge Street. Snowplows go by, and that snow's got to go somewhere, and unfortunately it gets thrown onto the sidewalks, but then that forces pedestrians into the streets. And so that's a problem that we're really working on, because we really want to emphasize, and we do emphasize, pedestrian safety, but we can't exactly do that if we're blocking sidewalks. And then, of course, homeowners and business owners, their responsibility to shovel in front of their homes. And I think if we can be consistent with that, or at least create an expectation of when sidewalks will be clear, because we know there are some situations, especially if it's a level 3, walking might be the only way to get somewhere. Right. So we really want to keep it safe, and sometimes for us that means getting out small equipment to clear a sidewalk, and it's just that sometimes in terms of broader safety, the safest thing is to get the streets done first, with sidewalks being secondary, but both a priority for us.
But again, that is legally the responsibility of the property owner to clear the sidewalks. Do they face any kind of a citation if they don't get that done in a timely manner? We
don't cite for that type of thing. It's more of a I think maybe an expected courtesy for folks in the community. And I know that there are plenty of folks who have trouble shoveling. And there's also every year there's the warnings about health and going out, and it can feel like you're not working that hard, but get your heart going and that cold, and can really cause problems. And so at this point in time, while there are communities in the country that will cite you, we haven't gotten to that point yet. I think again, one of the things that we deal with is that like you said, this is the biggest snow we've had in several years, and that's also indicative of our ability to respond, because we could have more trucks or bigger trucks or more fancy equipment. But the cost versus the benefit there, and we have to evaluate what is really a good use of the city's money. Is it is it preparing for snow like that several times in the winter, or just once, and that sort of thing. So it's a balance for sure.
Staying with the weather-related topic, the hours have varied here over the last week at the Chillicothe City Administration Building because of an issue with the HVAC. What's the latest with that?
Yeah, so a couple years ago we had the boiler replaced and quite a bit of work done. The system really overhauled. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, right around Christmas, we had the heat go out. We thought it was a loose wire. It turns out it was more than that. There's some corrosion in some of the pipes that the hot water flows through in the boiler, which ended up resulting in the motors getting burned up. And so we have brought in temporary heat, but it is heat that has to be ventilated. It's not electric. It's propane based, and that is not a suitable situation for a work environment. So we will open today. We opened yesterday, but we'll only be open from 10 to 2 today, light staffing. We know there are people who need to get in, get building permits, interact with the auditor's office and income tax, as well as pay their water bill. I know people are worried about that, but we're going to have some grace when it comes to water shutoffs and that sort of thing, just to make sure people are able to get in. Between the navigating the roads and then the building being closed, it's been a challenge. And so we appreciate people's patience with us. And we're waiting for a part now. It was ordered last week, and we're hopeful that it gets in today. We were hopeful to get in yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, kind of sometimes it feels like everything hits at once.
Yeah. And again, that only involves the city administration building.
That's correct. Yeah, 35 South Paint Street. So every other city function is open. We're answering phones. One of the things that COVID did prepare us for was being able to adapt. So we are, even though the building might not be open, employees are working from home, returning emails, monitoring phones, and still addressing the needs of the public.
Now, people can pay water bills online, can't they?
That's correct. They can pay online. You can find the link through the city website. You can also set up sort of auto deduct from your checking account if you have one. So lots of options. There are those people who like to come in and whether they pay with cash or whatever it might be every month. But building department too is moving towards more online services. So a little bit of progress here and there, but don't hesitate to call us if you need anything.
Talking about snow removal a while ago, a thought came to me, of course, with what we've been watching tragically on the news over the last week or so, what's going on in Southern California, made me think about clearing around the fire hydrants here in Chillicothe. Whose responsibility is that to make sure that those hydrants have not been covered and then frozen over, and then if there's a fire,
right,
you know what the problem is.
Yeah, that's a coordination between the fire departments and the service department, the fire department and the service department. Actually, just that staff meeting yesterday, the safety service director asked the fire chief to make sure that there was coordination there. That's one of the nice things about the way the city is structured and the way the department heads get along is safety service director mentioned at staff meeting yesterday how appreciative he was of other departments, because if you think about it, we've been doing snow plowing now for about 10 days straight, and the same people can't do that. Now, you've got service department employees who do it, but we have transit employees who have CDLs as backup, and then we also have utility department employees as backup. It's not really necessarily the first thing that they're hired for, but we're really appreciative of those departments working together, because we have to have the safety of our employees and our equipment and the people on the roads in mind. I saw a statistic just yesterday that I think 26 Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, snowplows have been hit or involved in accidents this year. And so we really want to make sure that our employees are safe and that the public is safe, and making sure they're rested is one of the ways to do that.
Right. Another issue with travel during severe weather like this, and this has been a long-standing protocol, but maybe people are new to the community and don't know. Whenever a snow emergency is put out, that is done so not here in Chillicothe by the city. That's done by the county sheriff, correct?
That's correct.
So what happens, we see the signs, and of course during the warmer weather months, we don't even think about it. But there are signs posted on the street that talk about what you do parking-wise in case of snow emergencies.
Yeah, and so those signs are largely meant to avoid some of the problems you have where we get calls from people who are frustrated because their cars get blocked in because the snow has to get pushed somewhere. Yeah. And what happens is there's certain major, the main routes through the city have these snow emergency signs up that are it's meant to be the case that you don't park on the street so that you don't get blocked in, and so that the traffic on those major thoroughfares is safer. That's another one that I think since I've been mayor, we haven't cited anybody on. And I think that, one of the things that is the case nowadays is with social media and our ability to communicate, and even the way we've drawn the maps for snowplowing, that in some instances has not been as bad. And frankly, it doesn't seem like we get as much snow as we used to. So snow emergencies, there's a preparation for that. But those snow emergency signs aren't utilized as much as they used to be. I think it's the case that, with the sheriff in Ross County, we have the second largest county in the state. And he's got a tall task where it's not just the roads in Chillicothe that have to be clean. The level 2, level 3 is for the county as a whole. So if you're in Chillicothe, you might see a road looks pretty clean. You got to recognize that level 3 is for the whole county. And I think the sheriff does a nice job of really staying on top of that and communicating with us, communicating with other agencies to be sure that they know sort of not only that it's coming, or sort of we get an idea sometimes that, in the future, if certain things happen, we might roll it back. That helps us communicate with our employees about what's coming, that sort of thing. So a lot of coordination behind the scenes during these snow events.
What is the protocol in relation to snow plowing? Some of our streets in Chillicothe are also state roads, state highways. Does the state take those here in the city, or is that
we take those? Yeah. So
okay.
you might see an ODOT vehicle coming through the city, but for example, you'll see the city vehicles go down Bridge Street, and it's actually kind of a sight to see because we try to coordinate that effort. So you'll have you can have multiple trucks lined up next to each other, because if you don't, you're just going to get snow from one lane to the next.
Yes. And
so we kind of gang them up and try to push that snow off to the side.
The conga line, I think
that's
they call
exactly
it.
Right. Yeah, they're dancing. No, but it is, when I first learned about it, it makes sense. But there's a lot of things about snow removal that, particularly the side streets in town, they often get packed down. It's not the case that we haven't gone over them, but when stuff turns to ice, snowplowers just go right over the top. And so there can be some frustration. Oh, they haven't hit the side streets. It's often the case that we have, but we've gotten up as much as we can. And then it gets to the point when it is packed down, it might not be as safe as driving on a clean street, but it's much more manageable than trying to just drive in 8 inches of fluffy snow.
Another thing that I've heard in years past that's a biggie, if you are shoveling out along your street or whatever, and I don't know whose responsibility this is, where the water drains in, those have to be cleared, because one of these days it's going to warm up.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have flooding on the streets if you don't keep those things clear.
Yeah, storm drains are a big deal too. I think, the ripple effect of snow is it continues out. I mean, because, some of these snow piles, we were taking internal bets the other day on how long the snow pile in the park will be there.
Yeah.
It might be July or August based on the size of some of these. But you're right, because that can cause significant backup if the gutters are blocked and the storm sewers are blocked. So just another thing to keep in mind.
And I know when some of the heavier snows that you bring dump trucks in, loaders put snow in and they take, where does that go? Where's it taken?
Most of it goes down to the park.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see. I think if you went down there today, you see pretty big piles kind of across there from Diamond One. That's kind of our, particularly the snow that's downtown. Any place that we've got where there's significant street parking necessary, try to get it out of there. So that's where it goes for now. And after this big park project, I don't know where it's going to go, but we'll have to figure that out.
For someone that says, well, why don't you just take it down and dump it in the river? I'm assuming because of salt and chemicals, that's not a good thing? I don't know.
That's a good question. I mean, it runs into the storm sewer anyway. I mean, it could be the case that just with the soggy sort of the road conditions, it might be challenging, but that's good question. I'll have to find the answer for that.
It seems to me that I remember a big storm in Cleveland or something years ago. They were showing them dumping it
straight in the river,
Lake Erie or whatever. And I thought, well, is that what they do with it? But you're saying for now that it goes in the park.
Yeah, and that's how I suppose icebergs are created. You just let them float on down the river.
Now, kids shouldn't be playing on those snow piles.
Please do not. And they are dirty.
Anything else about the winter, since this is a topical item here that we need to be talking about for the citizenry?
Well, I just think I just want to say thank you to the citizenry because the patience with our folks, and then thank you to our crews for the work that they do. It's thankless work. They're tired, get called out in the middle of the night, oftentimes called out and then it doesn't snow, or called out, we got to get salt down because, the thing with salt is you got to get it down before the snow. What it does is reduce the temperature of the increase the temperature of the pavement. And so I think I just express appreciation and ask people to continue to be safe.
Do we use any of that brine mixture too?
We don't have any equipment that delivers brine on the streets. ODOT has two types of equipment. One is straight brine. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing ODOT has, which we're looking into, is their salt trucks, when they spread salt, add a little bit of liquid to it so it doesn't disperse as much. And that's the type of thing, again, where a brine truck, for example, it's a question of is it worth the investment for something that's only used once a year, once every other year. But you can see it really does make a difference. And they have so many more miles to cover than we do that I think it's maybe a little bit more effective.
And lastly, I know they used to do this years ago, skating on Octangie Park Lake. Is that that's a no-no?
No, that's a no-no. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think whether it's temperature over the years and just a sort of awareness around safety is a big liability and something. You can always check out the Mighty Children's Museum. They host a skating rink, but we're not skating on the lake. Okay,
very good. We'll have many more shows in the future where we go back to the other business, but now that it's here, the snow, we want to talk about while we're in the winter months. Mayor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Chillicothe Mayor Luke Feeney, our guest today. Our interview brought to you by the Pickaway Ross Career and Technology Center, Adult Education. I'm your host, Mike Smith.